one of you is safe and sound under these very difficult times, the COVID-19 times, and every one of you is practicing the safeguards that need to be followed during such difficult times, as has been advocated by the ministries, by the government, as well as by our own organizations. My name is Ramanan. I'm the Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission, and it is always wonderful to connect with you all, my dear students, teachers, mentors, principals, and whoever else has joined this particular webinar series called Tinker from Home, Modules from Atal Innovation Mission. As all of you are aware, the Atal Innovation Mission has been launched since 2016 as an organization under the auspices of the Niti Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India. And the purpose of this mission is to create an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of our country. So the Atal Innovation Mission is a flagship initiative by the Government of India. Personally, it's the brainchild of the Prime Minister, and it has played a very instrumental role in ensuring that the spirit of innovation and an ecosystem of entrepreneurship is being created across schools, across universities, in the industry, in NGOs, in every state, in every district, and across even some of the smaller towns, the rural, hilly coastal districts of our country. The idea is that we have 1.3 billion people in our country. We have over 1.4 million schools. We have what they call as the demographic dividend, where more than 65% of our country is under 35 years old. We want our young, energetic, youthful students and the young people in our country to be able to channelize their energies for the purposes of betterment of our country. And if you want to do that, we need to be able to create the ecosystem where innovation is an automatic culture in every person, in every young student, whether he's graduating from school or from the university or moving into the industry. And you have to also create the environment where their innovative capability can find expression. So in order to do this, the Atal Innovation Mission has launched thousands of tinkering labs called Atal Tinkering Labs at a school level, where you have the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, and augmented virtual reality do-it-yourself kits, which the children can play with, tinker with, from grade 6 to grade 12, apply the concepts of physics, chemistry, math, engineering, which they learn in the school, and be able to create innovations for problems that they see in and around the community. So for this, we launched thousands of tinkering challenges. We run tinkering marathons through which the students get an opportunity to identify problems in various areas that we launch the challenges in, create innovations by grouping together as small groups of 4 or 5 students, and they are able to create wonderful innovations. At the university level, we have launched hundreds of incubators, which will foster thousands of startups, so that when you as a student move into a university, you have an opportunity to create your own startup. And at the community level, we are going to be launching hundreds of community innovation centers, so that the rural people, the hilly districts, the remote countries, the remote areas of our country are able to experience the benefit of your innovation, your entrepreneurship, your job creating capabilities. Now, in all of this, the Atal Tinkering Labs is central because the bulk of our young students are there, and all of you who are logged onto this call have an opportunity to become innovators and the job creators of the future through leveraging your Atal Tinkering Labs and through making and creating innovations. And therefore, I am delighted today to be inviting 2 people who have dedicated themselves to the cause of the maker movement. One is Vaibhav Chhabra, who is the founder of the Maker Asylum in Mumbai, and the other is Richa Shrivastava, who is his partner, managing partner from a strategic point of view. The Makers Asylum is one of the oldest and the most popular maker spaces in India. They started back in 2013 in a small office space, and now they are a 6,000 square feet of space in Andheri's industrial district. inclusive of an open air terrace. In the recent times, the challenging times of COVID 19 that all of you are aware of, COVID 19 has been unprecedented in terms of its impact on our country. It has created a lockdown, it has disrupted supply chains, it has moved people, migrant people, back into their hometowns and they are struggling for the jobs, and it has instilled a fear of acquiring the coronavirus through contact. And so, a number of organizations have been involved in finding preventive, assistive, or curative solutions for this COVID 19 crisis. And among them, the maker spaces in India have played a pioneering role in embracing this challenge to make a self sustainable India and an Atmanirbhar Bharat. The M19 is that initiative. It is called the Makers for COVID 19 Solution. That's what it abbreviates to. The M19 collection is an attempt of the Indian maker community to fight the COVID 19 pandemic and support the frontline warriors. The goal of this M19 collective is to produce 1 million face shields by the maker community across the country. We are going to be hearing more about this from both Vaibhav and Richa today. And my dear students and parents, we are here to hear from you also and respond to your queries, your questions. We encourage for you to be posting your questions during this Facebook and YouTube live session that we are conducting, so that we are able to collect those questions, group them and categorize them, and ask our invitees, our speakers, our experts who have been involved in all of this. And before I ask Vaibhav and Richa to introduce themselves, I do want to tell that we are extremely proud of the type of response that all the young ATL tinkering students have shown during the lockdown period. We launched Tinker from Home modules. There are many Tinker from Home modules that we launch almost every week, but the 4 significant ones were the module on artificial intelligence, learn it yourself and do it yourself artificial intelligence. We launched a module on game development, 2 modules on game development, the basic and the intermediate module. We launched a module on Adobe for digital creativity and skills, and we launched a module on 3D design with CollabCAD, called CollabCAD with NIC. Now, it has been fantastic to see the type of innovations that have come out of applying these Tinker from Home modules in the Atal Community Challenge that we launched parallelly on April 14, Baba Saheb Ambedkar's Jayanti Day. And you have applied all these innovations, you have applied all these technologies for these innovations. And I congratulate every ATL student and every school who have participated in this and created your own innovation. After all, the maker space as well as Atal Tinkering Labs enables your imagination and your ideas to get converted into creative innovations. And from creative innovations, you can create great products which can result in companies and unicorns that India badly needs. So with that, I would like Vaibhav and Richa to introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit on how they got introduced into this innovation journey. What was the cause of they getting associated and creating maker spaces? And then we'll take it from there. Over to you, Vaibhav and Richa.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanan. I'll let Richa start. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for your introduction. So my name is, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's a lovely evening in Bombay today with some clouds outside, but nice to see everyone joining in on the Sunday evening. My name is Richa and I'm the managing partner for Makers Asylum. So Vaibhav started Makers Asylum back in 2013 when he got back from Boston to India. He will tell you the story about it, but my background is a bit different. I am an engineer. I did my electronics and communication engineering from VIT Mesra in Ranchi. And then I was working in the telecommunication industry for about 5 years with Idea Cellular. My role primarily revolved around technology strategy and support to the chief technology officer there. So I worked there about for 5 years, did a lot of work with different verticals in the technologies as well as the commercial space. And then I went on to do my MBA from Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. And post that, from a corporate organization, I got an opportunity to work with the government of Andhra Pradesh. My role was as part of the Chief Minister's IT advisory and strategy to bring in investments into the state. So it primarily focused on financial technology investments and blockchain and cryptocurrency, etc. So a lot of really interesting new technology that I was dealing with. So I work with a lot of startups and a lot of different countries and collaborations with them to bring in these different kind of startups to the state of Andhra Pradesh for 2.5 years. Post that, then I joined Vaibhav at Makers Asylum. I've always been, I've known Vaibhav for a very long time, and I've always been a big fan of the space. Back in 2013, also when we met for the first time. So incidentally, I happened to go to every maker space, every Makers Asylum that was set up in Bombay. From the first space that was in Bandra, then it moved to Lower Parel, then it moved to Andheri. So incidentally, I've been to all the spaces, but I personally did not know at that time how to contribute back. I'm not exactly a maker as such. I mean, although I'm creative, I love doing various creative things, but I'm not a maker exactly. But I think 2.5 years ago when Vaibhav and I met again, and when we spoke about how it's important to bring in two different kind of skills together to make an independent and sustainable organization, because at the end of the day, Makers Asylum is an independent maker space. We're not funded by anybody, or we're not inside a university. So how do we make it more sustainable in terms of what are the revenues, the business, the business elements of how to make this space more robust and independent while creating a community at large. So that's when I thought my skills would really add value, and both of us sort of have complementary skill sets. So we thought that working together would be really exciting, and that's when we started working together.
Great, Richa. That's wonderful to hear your background, and it's a very impressive background, as well as how your interest in Maker Asylum started, and also the fact, and this is encouraging for many people, that you may not necessarily be a maker, but you can be a great contributor to the maker community, because a maker or any innovation requires multiple things to happen in simultaneously. You need the technical expert, you need the strategy, you need some business planning expert, because you need to know the relevance of this particular innovation to the rest of the society. You should be able to do it within a particular cost. Otherwise, it becomes an unviable idea. So, wonderful to hear about. Vaibhav, can you just? There is an echoing. Yeah. All right. So let me. I don't know whether it is okay. Is it okay now? Yeah. So,
Yes,
Vaibhav, can you tell us a little bit about your own journey and what inspired you to come up with this Maker Asylum idea?
Sure. Thank you, sir. So my background, I'm a mechanical engineer. I was never really good at school, and I guess my parents, they're watching right now. They'll watch for that. All my teachers asked me to get out of the class, and that's how my journey really started, because I was not maybe the brightest student.
That is not a necessary condition to become a maker.
Wanted to bring that up right at the beginning. And luckily, I had the opportunity, thanks to the support of my family and everyone, to go and study mechanical engineering in Boston University in Boston. And over there, I had a lot of opportunity to explore a lot of different things. Like I explored a lot of carpentry. I explored how to make cars. I explored how to work with drones. I explored how to do flying. I explored how to do a lot of different skills apart from just academics. That allowed me to really learn and respect the nature of being able to learn things that make you happy, and do things that you are constantly learning from. And then after I graduated, I started working for a company. My first job was actually with a company that was working with eye diagnostic devices. It was called iNetra. It was a startup based out of MIT Media Labs in Boston. And we were making these virtual reality based eye diagnostic devices to give you an eye test using a smartphone. So So think about it like a simple little device, phone, and you get your prescription. So they asked me, obviously, the awesome part about this device was it was portable. So you could put it in your backpack, take it to somebody's house, and do the test. So the potential of this device was if it was brought to India and can go to rural parts of India, and it could go to small cities and villages where almost about 1 billion people do not have access to eye care. So I packed up that device and with the help of the professor over there and moved to India, moved to Mumbai now, and started doing studies, started doing exercises, started making the device in Mumbai. However, the issue at that time when I moved to Mumbai was that we didn't have any maker spaces in India. We didn't. This is about 7 years back, so we didn't have a. I didn't have a place where I could go to 3D print something, to prototype something. This was all there in Boston. So I was exposed to all of this in Boston, where I had access to these labs where I could go and make things. But in Mumbai, it was really hard to find access to any sort of machinery. So I had to always go to service providers and people who are engineers who are trying to prototype maybe will associate over here with me that when you go and make something, when you go to a service provider and get something back, you completely lose the journey of making. And when you lose the journey of making, you don't know what went into the final product that came out. So you're not able to improve it, you're not able to innovate, you're not able to do all of those little changes that maybe make it a little better. But when you have access to that equipment, when you're making right in front of you, for example, a simple thing like having access to the carpentry tools or having access to electronics or having access to a 3D printer can allow you to see what went wrong in your first prototype so you can improve it the second time and then learn from it and understand how the machine works to be able to make those little adjustments to make it better every time and inch towards a final product. So that's something that I was missing when I moved to Mumbai. And incidentally, something funny happened. Inside Ainetra's office, the ceiling fell down and broke everything. There was a big disaster in the office. The entire equipment got broken, all the furniture got broken, all the computers got broken. So so instead of going and buying new furniture and doing that, on a Sunday, we decided to do like a Facebook event and ask people to come together from all over Mumbai and make some tables and chairs. And that's what started the journey of Makers Asylum. Eventually, we ended up moving 5 times in search of a space in Mumbai because Mumbai, as you know, is a very expensive city and the rents are very high. So we were trying to find a space. The first so we moved from one space to another space to another space, eventually finding our home in Andheri East, which we might move again from soon enough because of now the issues that we face because of the lockdown and the financial parts of it. But apart from that, we moved multiple times, but we've completely been sustainable through our journeys to find a home for the community, find a place where people from all different backgrounds, engineers, artists, designers, doctors, come together and have access to tools like 3D printers, laser cutters, carpentry, electronics, welding, everything in one space. Today, unfortunately, I'm not at the space right now. It is a Sunday and I decided to come back home. But most of the time, every day we're at the space and I would have shown you around Makers Asylum, but maybe you can go online and see some videos about the same to see the space to get a better idea. But back to you, sir.
Yeah, excellent. From whatever you said, I am able to glean the following. One is your interest in technology did not diminish just based on your academic performances. You are interested in making something and creating something. That is what drove you to take further interest in this entire makerspace movement. And when you went to study in Boston, the exposure to various types of things that one can create and one can have an impact that impressed you. But mostly, I think what impressed you was the fact that there was a particular problem that could be solved through a making of a particular technology or a product. And then you saw the application of that solution in India, which is what drove you back to come to India and see how you can apply that for the billions of people who need it. That is one part. The second one is you did not see maker spaces in India and you felt the need for establishing a maker space. And so you'll be very happy to know that today we have 5,000 mini maker spaces at least in the country through the Atal Tinkering Lab. More than 5,000 tinkering labs are present in all over the country. And that is across the 700 plus districts that we have. So all the students today have that opportunity, which you and I did not have when we were going to school, to be able to use this maker space, maker technology, 3D printers, all these are all the latest technologies. Plus there are mechanical tools and so on, which is also available in the tinkering labs. So how do you ensure that you take that to start creating innovations to solve problems, practical problems that you see in and around the community? And we'll come to that also. The third that you mentioned was the impact that a particular creation or an innovation can have on many, many people. And one of those is the M19 initiative that you have. So can you tell us a little more about the M19 initiative? Our Atal Tinkering Lab students themselves have been creating a lot of innovations to address the COVID-19 crisis. And it would be great for them to hear from you what the M19 initiative is. And maybe there are many Atal Tinkering Lab students who can participate in this as an additional aspect of your of what is happening in the M19 initiative with all the other maker spaces. So it would be good to hear more about it from you.
Thank you, sir. So just a story about the M19 initiative. So it started when the lockdown in India started on the 23rd of March. And a few of us, including myself, Richa, and a few others, we decided to quarantine ourselves inside the lab, inside Maker's Asylum. We packed our bags and we started staying inside Maker's Asylum instead of going back home, because it was important. We thought it was much more better to be with the tools and do something and make some videos or do something rather than staying at home. So because one, we needed to sustain the lab, and second, we had to do some, we thought that we could do much more by being around our tools like the laser cutters, 3D printers, etc. So we moved inside. We started making some videos. We started making some DIY videos for people online to start making some things from home. And right then, within the first week, we prototyped some face shields for individuals, and saw there was a lot of response. We started posting about our designs, and we open sourced all our designs and we put them online. And people from all over the city started reaching out to us and giving us feedback on our designs. And at the same time, what was also really exciting was that doctors started reaching out to us. So once doctors started reaching out to us, we started going to them, showing them the prototypes at their homes after work, late at night, from like 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock at night. I remember going down to doctors' houses, showing them our prototypes, and they gave us a lot of feedback. From there, we were able to come back to the lab, prototype better, and make these designs. Then after that, we sent our first batch of 500 shields to Bangalore, to Baptist Hospital. And this is in the first week of the lockdown. So this is around the 27th of March. So at this time, we realized how big the issue was, because one, the doctors did not have the basic requirement of, there was a huge shortage in the industry for PPE equipments, 27th March. And the entire ecosystem was choked. So from finding vendors and finding a shop where you could go and buy these materials from was not possible. To ship stuff from Mumbai to Bangalore was very, very difficult, because the delivery systems were not working very well. And even we had to go to the airport, to Blue Dart, to drop off everything. And then from there, they had to go to the airport and pick up from Bangalore airport. But so the issues were immense in terms of transporting and finding all the materials to be able to make this. So what we did, interestingly, is that we used laser cutting to make these face shields, and we use very locally available material to make these. One of the reasons why we use laser cutting is the fact that it's faster, better, and cheaper. When I say that, it's much faster. In a 3D printer, you're able to make a face shield, and it takes about at least 1 hour to make one face shield, compared to laser cutting, where we were able to produce more than 2,000 face shields in a day's time with one laser cutter. So, and another exciting thing about the laser cutting technology was the fact that it's there all across the country. There are existing industries around laser cutting in the entire country. There are a lot of laser cutting shops in the country. So what we did is that we immediately open sourced our design, shared videos, shared guidance, how to maintain sanitation at the lab, how to use the files that we shared on GitHub, how to make these facials locally using locally sourced material. One of the most important innovations with the device was that we made them using foam board. Now, foam board is something which is used locally across the country for marketing and is waterproof. And we showed it to doctors, and it's super cheap. It costs, one shield costs, the material costs like less than 10 rupees. So, and the fact that it's available across the country, foam board. And this was available locally in every city. So when we were able to share these designs with everyone, they were able to produce them locally in their cities. So every day we were going from design iteration to design iteration over here in Bombay and sharing those, and other labs and other maker spaces, we were calling them. And Richa will tell you a little bit more what all she did in terms of coordinating with all the labs to, and at the same time, individuals across the country to come together and make these shields. So just to give you a basic idea, we made the first 100,000 facials or 1 lakh facials in 15 days. So it took us 15 days to make the first 1 lakh facials. The next 1 lakh facials after that first 1 lakh was made under 7 days. And then we reached 1 million, which is 10 lakh facials, in less than 49 days. To give you a reference to that, towards the end of this period, we were making 1 lakh face shields a day across the country. Just looking at this collective, which was of 42 cities, villages, and towns. When I say 42 villages, cities, and towns, I'm talking about people in Jammu and Kashmir, in Guwahati, in Nanded, in Bhatkal, in Jaipur, in Mumbai, in Delhi, in Bangalore. The east, west, north, south of India is covered. The smallest villages were covered, and people were making these across the country to be able to service their local ecosystems, which is their hospitals. Now, if you think about this, the way this happened is, in today's day, we have one of the big things about technology, or we talk about 3D printing or laser cutting, is the biggest advantage is the fact that it's digital fabrication. When I say digital fabrication, I'm able to create files over here, digitally transmit across the country, where each and every city is able to produce locally. The other thing about this, which is very, very important, is distributed manufacturing. The fact that we weren't manufacturing in Mumbai, we were manufacturing all across India really, really fast. We were able to scale up from 0 to 1 million in 49 days. So just to give you a reference to this, at the moment, Cambridge University is doing a case study on how we were able to scale up this fast in such a short amount of time. So the fact that nobody else in the world has been able to do that in terms of distributed manufacturing till date, this initiative or this scale up or ramp up is sort of an ode to the fact that the power of the Indian maker ecosystem is so strong, and the power of the maker community in India is so strong that people across India were able to come together and use the power of digital and distributed manufacturing to be able to make across India so quickly, so fast. Apart from that, one more thing that I would like to point out is the fact that this entire initiative was fully sustainable. When I mean the fact that it was fully sustainable, there was no grant or no government body or no corporate body that was able to support this initiative so quickly, in the sense that we did apply to a lot of grants, we did apply to governments, we did apply to corporates, but no one was able to react so quickly and support a distributed manufacturing initiative. So the way that we made this sustainable was through crowdfunding and through direct transactions between the makerspace and the direct sales. So it was done in a way which is very, very important to note, because social impact is only scalable when it is sustainable. And I think that is very, very important to say that, yes, there is a reliant sometimes where we feel like, oh, only if I get the funding will I do something. But there's a very, very important thing that an initiative this fast could not have sailed if it was not self-sustainable. So in the start itself, we put down what is the cost, what is the stuff, and how do we scale it right at the beginning of the initiative. And I think over there, I would give all the credits to Richa, and she would be able to talk about that, because the business element of the entire initiative was done by her. And having somebody from a business mindset into the maker ecosystem creates a lot of importance over there to be able to bring in scale to an initiative, which is very, very important. And the last thing that I would like to mention before I pass it on to you and Richa is the fact that there were 300 volunteers involved in this entire initiative. There were 300 volunteers from all across the country who were part of making these 1 million facials. Now, these people were from very, very different backgrounds, from filmmakers in Guwahati making these facials at their home, to neuropsychologists, to doctors in Orissa creating an entire network and making them inside Orissa with volunteers, to media personnel in Jaipur. In Jaipur, it was not happening inside a makerspace. It was happening inside a media house. The media house is called Sku News. They're basically a publication platform. They were making these facials inside their publication house. There was a Goldman Sachs analyst. There were families. The youngest member of the M19 Collective, and I would like to point this out very, very well. The youngest member of the M19 Collective was 12 years old. He came from a town in Bhavnagar in Gujarat. Not only did he make over 500 face shields at his house, he was able to inspire a lot of other kids across the country by sharing DIY videos on how to take the designs from the M19 Collective and be able to make them at home. So he made DIY videos and started sharing those. And those are available on our website under makersasylum.com/M19shields. And all of these people committed their own sacrifices, their own risks. We were sharing how to not contaminate the lab. They all took their own risks. Us ourselves, we were all scared while doing this because we are in a pandemic situation. It was very, very important to, while serve the healthcare personnel and the frontline workers, to also stay safe ourselves and not fall sick. Or we were all not, none of the 300 volunteers were going back home to meet their families. This is very important. They were all sacrificing. Either they were living inside their labs or they were not going back home to meet their families to be able to not transmit the virus to their families and make anyone else sick, at least. So they all made their own sacrifices. And I think that was the power, the human level part of this initiative, which was very, very important to recognize the maker community, which made their own sacrifices, their own little bits that they did in this fearful time, and stay strong and together. We did not know these people before. These are all individuals that we met as we went along this journey, and they all stood strong. They all stood supportive towards each other. We all shared best practices on how to keep ourselves safe and everyone else safe, and we're able to stand strong in this time. So just to give you
yeah. That's a fascinating story, Vaibhav, and I'm really happy that you have shared it with all our people on the call. What it shows is several things. One is the power of collaboration, as you have said. You have been able to create more than 1 million face shields in 49 days, which is a record by itself, and now it is being studied by experts all over the world. You were able to harness the maker community and the power of collaboration across the country to make it happen and to steadily improve your production rates. You have been able to inspire young students from across the country. 12-year-old creating more than 500 face shields from home. That's a fantastic thing. And I think that's an inspiration for all our young students who are out there. I would really like you and probably Ronak should share once again the links and the design so that the 5,000 tinkering labs that we have, and we have close to about 2.5 million students today who are accessing these labs. I would love to see at least 10 face shields coming out of every tinkering lab school who are having a 3D printer. They may not be able to manufacture with the productivity rate that you have with laser printers, but if you are able to use our 3D printers in all these tinkering labs, even to manufacture 10 of the face shields, and that's about 5,000 multiplied by 10, which is 50,000 face shields right out there. And I think that's a very easy number to be able to achieve. And also, the video that you says is viral now of the 12-year-old making it at home. What does it require to make from home? What are the things that you require from there? I'm curious that if you are able to make a face shield from home, and you need the materials and you need the 3D printer. Beyond the 3D printer, do you need anything else, or how is it that the person has made 500 face shields?
So interestingly, if you see the video, he did not have a 3D printer. He did not have a laser cutter, nothing at all. So all that he did was took a regular printout of the designs and took cardboard and foam board that he found at home and placed it on top of it, and then initially cut it with a pair of scissors to make the first few face shields. And then later on, with his father, he was able to use a bandsaw and manually make all the 500 shields without the use of any 3D printer or any other technology and make them at home. And the only thing that they needed was a basic material like foam board and OHP sheets, which are commonly available at any stationery shop in the city. So his father was able to help bring in the supplies, and they were able to do this at home using just a pair of scissors and a few simple tools. And that's why the video is very powerful.
That should inspire everybody who is thinking that I don't have a 3D printer at home. How can I be involved in this? You can definitely be involved in this. How effective are these face shields that you have created, and the acceptability of that in the marketplace, Vaibhav? Because that is also important. The effectiveness of the usage of it and so on. So how effective is that? And maybe Richa can answer that, because she is interacting with the end customer and the end users. And by the way, Richa, can you also share? I think the important part was what Vaibhav referred. You all had the skill, but in order to achieve the scale, you really had to develop a network of partners who are like-minded in this particular initiative. So what are the special things that you did? Because whenever somebody creates an innovation, you have to see how to able to spread that innovation on scale and be able to be still retain the quality that you want in that innovation. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, please go ahead. I'll wear it.
Thank you. So initially,
that effectiveness of this innovation also, I'd like a little feedback.
Yeah. So I think just to set context, face shields and PPE equipment was not made in India before. So these are novel products that started, we started developing, and everybody in the country started developing very recently. So obviously, there was no way to understand how to certify these. There was no way we could test these out in labs. So, I mean, we relied a lot on user feedback to go back and forth on the design. So what Vaibhav was mentioning earlier, just to give you a context in terms of how many design iterations that we went through to get to this one that Vaibhav is wearing, is 21 design iterations. So we went through 21 design iterations of this very simple product, which is this face shield. Now this is, of course, now we have injection molded these, and this has become obviously much better looking, but it comes with these replaceable visors. Now, if you see, the whole idea of just having this as a modular product becomes very interesting, because yes, you can make face shields, and there are a lot of different kinds of face shields in the market. Obviously, a lot of designs that have been open sourced in the US that have been used over here. But this is like a very simple, initially also our design, which was made out of foam board, had this particular part, which was this this headband, which is the main part of it, because we wanted it to be reused. Now, to make the product reusable, because otherwise you're creating waste as well, right? Because this is becoming a biohazard, because it goes into the hospitals, then you have to throw it. You're using obviously recyclable plastic, but still at the end of the day, it's waste. So how do you sort of reduce the waste? So on a normal day, when we're working on our programs as well, a lot of it goes into understanding sustainability. Because when you are designing something, while of course you're creating, there is a need for a particular product, but it's very important to understand how that product is finally going to go into, the waste and the entire cycle of the product, whether, it can be reused or not reused. So just to reduce waste, and if this headband can be reused, that was one of the main, features that we were dabbling with. as to how do we make it reusable. That's why this, replaceable visor becomes very interesting as a thing. But this all happened only because I was in fact in touch with almost, I think 20 to 25 hospitals, all the major COVID hospitals in Bombay, all the major all the doctors who were working in this. So I was directly, literally my phone number is saved as Richa face shields on like everyone's phone in Bombay. Like everyone, like literally everyone has called me up. So every day I was pretty much on like almost 100 to 200 calls that I used to get, not only from doctors but also from various suppliers who wanted to have access to these various things. And then on the other hand, we were trying to create the collective. So the user feedback played a lot of role in this, and that's when the doctors who were using it gave us a lot of insights to take the product forward. And that's when it became better and better. And one more thing I want to add is that we ourselves were using this on a daily basis. So that means to say that while we were making these, we were wearing this for 12 hours a day ourselves to test the product. Because it's very important when you're creating it for somebody else, you also test it on yourself to understand what are the problems. So before anybody could give us a feedback, we already knew what the problem was in the iteration that we were at. So it gave us a lot of leeway to sort of work around, because we knew that the doctor is going to say that this is the problem, because we were ourselves wearing it and our whole team knew what the problem was. So it's very important to test your product as well while you're making them, and very important to empathize with the user, because we knew that the doctors had to use it for at least 6 to 8 hours a day. So if we were comfortable wearing it for 6 to 8 hours a day, the doctors will be comfortable wearing it for 6 to 8 hours a day. So all of those things were happening because obviously there was no certificate or anything that could, possibly tell us that this is a good, product or not. So a lot of user feedback, a lot of design iterations went through with it. And then, so that was on your first question about, how the, design elements of it sort of played in. Then on the other side, of course, while I was talking to doctors and sort of creating and giving out these shields, we obviously were doing crowdfunding. So there was a lot of donations that were coming in as well, that we were, then giving these out versus, the donations as well. So because of that, we got to meet a lot of interesting people. We gave it to the Mumbai police, we gave it to the National Security Guard, we gave it to the Central Reserve Police, various other BMC Karamcharis, ASHA workers, volunteers who were working with immigrant workers who were going out. So there was a lot of things that were happening, and especially because Bombay was Bombay is very critical in terms of where we were in terms of COVID, right? Even now today, and it's not like the fight is anywhere from over, because we are almost approaching 500,000 cases in the country. So this was a very simple product, which was which helps you not touch your face. It helps you not have this splatters and mucus on your face, because that's how the virus transmits, right? It was a very basic, simple product that we sort of put it out. And there was a market that already existed that wanted it. So generally what happens with the product is that your go-to-market strategy, you go through a lot of things around go-to-market strategy, but we didn't have to do anything because there was a market that was ready. There was a large market that was ready that we wanted to take these. So it became easier for us to sort of put it out there. So while we were also donating it, at the same time, a lot of people were buying this from us. So that's what it made sustainable as well for us, because there was a basic cost that was going into it, including our space rent, including the material costs, etc. So we incorporated all of that in the cost when we were selling it to people as well. So people would buy it of us, we were donating it. So a lot of things happened over there. And apart from that, the community that we were trying. So we use a lot of social media on a normal day because we are a very new age brand and organization. So a lot of people, a lot of our community is on social media. So when we put things out there, a lot of it sort of gets, a lot of people started reaching out to us for volunteering. A lot of people realized that their designs available online. So whenever, so I used to get these messages that, can we start making it in Jammu and Kashmir? Can we start making it in Guwahati? And I used to add them all into a group. So now I think the group, the M19 Collective WhatsApp group, has about 100 people on it. And all of them are various kinds of people, like Vaibhav mentioned. And I literally just used to talk to them, have a conversation, say that, okay, you guys want to make these, fine. I'll get you on the group. And you can ask all kinds of technical questions, because we had every technical answer. So the team was there. So any answer, any improvement that they want, we were having a conversation like on a day-to-day basis for them to come up to speed and start creating these. And as soon as they started creating these, we were also tracking the numbers every day. So it was kind of like It was very
leaderboard.
Yeah, it was like a leaderboard.
It
was gamified because you're like, okay, fine, we have to reach 1 million. We're adding these labs and all their numbers are getting added, and everybody was really pumped up because everyone was like super.
The graph on the website.
Yeah, I mean, I can't show the graph here, but there's a graph on the website. It's just like the coronavirus graph because it's exponential in the way that the shields were made. So it was quite exciting time for us.
That's wonderful to hear, Richa. Several things come out of this. Number one, the importance of being able to understand what the customer requirement is and being able to re-engineer your solution through several iterations, because you don't get it right the first time. And the feedback that you get from the doctors, from the usage, you said eating your own dog food, as they call, wear it yourself and see how effective it is, and you are able to immediately see what are the gaps, what are the weaknesses, what are some of the things that need improvement, and so on. And then also your ability to look out and reach out, because you have to have an outreach. You need to know how to scale, and for scaling you need support from multiple quarters. It is not just you have ready with an innovation and it's not going to scale. You have to see how to make it affordable, how to make it accessible, and how to make it available. So all of these aspects have to come into the thing. I just quickly want to ask you before we wrap up, because we are close to 8 o'clock, and that was the time. But I'd like to know a little more about you are developing a motorized air purifying respirator for the frontline workers. Can you please share a little bit about that, and also showcase or any other thing that you'd like to show to the young students to inspire them to make their own innovations?
So thank you, Mr. Before Vaibhav shows the MAPR, I wanted to also point out that while everybody started making these face shields across different cities and towns and villages, apart from the face shields, now the whole collective is making various other things. Now, anything from sanitizers, from mouth swabs to your thermometers to, of course, we are making the PAPR now, and there are various kinds of things that the collective is making. Now, these people are not. Yeah, there it is. So Ronak is sharing the screen as well. So everyone's gone on to not just making face shields now, they've gone on to making various things out of the collective. So now this has become like into, obviously, this is people have to sustain, and there's a different kind of market now post the pandemic, and everybody understands that. And that's the reason why everyone's now ventured into, creating different products for how, in a post-COVID world, people can sustain and survive. So the collective has become much larger than just the face shield, because we're manufacturing various kinds of things now. And Vaibhav is going to show you a little bit about the PAPR, and yeah, we'll take it from there.
So Ronak is showing you how the PAPR looks on the on
our website.
On the website. This is actually the heart of the PAPR, and we've gotten this far after 5 iterations, and by sending it to hospitals like Kasturba Hospital, to AIMS in New Delhi. There are 4 versions of this at AIMS in New Delhi. We were sending it to them overnight, getting feedback, improving it. The first version did not look very different. It was actually made using drone motors and drone batteries, the first version. Now we have a proper system inside. The filters are replaceable. So these are the P100 filters, which are used currently by respirators.
And describe what the PAPR means.
Yes, fair. So most important, yes, a PAPR is a purified air respirator, personally powered. So what that means is that for a doctor or for anyone who's in a high-risk environment, it gives you a personal air source, which is filtered air. So if you think about it very simply, if an individual is inside a hazardous environment, he's able to breathe filtered air. So I don't know if any of you have tried wearing an N95 mask. Have you, sir? Have you tried one? I'm not sure. But an N95 mask, which they are currently wearing, is super hard to breathe in because there are multiple layers of filters in the mask. And even just a regular mask, if you wear and try go running or doing any sort of exercise, you start panting. So when you think about the doctors who are in the front line currently, correct. So if you think about the doctors who are in the front line right now, and the policemen and everyone, they are doing activity which involves running around, walking, being in a very highly tense environment, being around patients, and yet being inside and N95 mask. So it's very, very suffocating and hard. And most of them are also falling sick because of that, and at the same time are very exhausted and suffering through very much problems. So one of the things that offers a solution for this is a PAPR. A PAPR basically provides you a nice source of ventilated air directly to your face. So it keeps you ventilated around your face and provides you filtered air. So you're breathing constantly fresh air. And through a filter, which is, so P100 filters are rated at, so an N95 filter is rated at 95% purification. A P100 filter is rated at 99.97% purification. So it stops any bacteria, virus, or other particle by 99.97%. So, but they're very hard to breathe through. So when you push air through them, they come to your face. So, however, these equipments exist in the world. They have been there. They're a very, very important innovation that happened long time back. And but the issue is that they cost a lot. They cost between 1 lakh to 2 lakh rupees for one unit. 3M has one which is available in India. Very few of them are available, which cost around 2.5 lakh rupees, 2 to 2.5 lakh rupees. So they're very, very expensive. And honestly, there is no reason for them to be that expensive. If you look at what is at the heart of a PAPR, it's actually just a pump or a motor, which is taking attached to a filter. So it's taking in filtered air, pushing it through the pump and pushing it out. So if you look at what's inside a PAPR, it's not that complicated. And if you break it down, that's what we did. So we sat together with a doctor from MGM Hospital, who was a volunteer at Makers Asylum, along with Anul Mahidaria, who is the chief designer behind these. And all of us, we sat down and we really looked at this equipment, that why is it so expensive and does it really need to be this expensive? And then we were able to prototype them using drone motors and drone batteries and a simple fan to be able to make the first version. And we sent it to AIMS in Delhi. We tested it out at IIT Bombay, and we got some really good feedback by the hospital. The fact that it was pretty good. The only issue that we were facing was with the battery and with the sound and the battery life. So now we're at version 5. This thing uses a regular phone battery bank. So something that you use to charge your phone.
Yeah, it's like
and
off the shelf.
Off the shelf. Provides almost 8 hours worth of battery life. Plus uses off the shelf replaceable filters, and is only is less than 3 kgs in weight.
No, 1.5.
Oh, sorry, it's about 1.5 kgs now. It was 3 kgs, now it's 1.5 kgs. So just to compare that, a 3M PAPR weighs approximately 3 kgs. We've gone down to half the weight of that.
Even more.
And with a battery life of about 8 hours. So you're able to create this, and this is all made in-house. Parts are 3D printed. This is laser cut. These are all 3D printed and designed inside the lab. Most of the adapters are 3D printed. And we were able to prototype this over multiple iterations. But and we were able to reduce the cost.
And what is the cost reduced?
Yeah, we were able to reduce the cost down to under 35,000 rupees. So wow. If you look at it in comparison to the other PAPRs, now the cost has gone to drastically, which makes it not only it makes it one of the cheapest or the lowest cost. Let's not use the word cheapest, but lowest cost PAPRs in the world at the moment. And it's the doctors who are using it currently are giving us pretty good feedback. So it's
I'm just adding to.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, just adding to Vaibhav's point again, we're sticking to the same process because again, the certifications, etc., are very difficult to understand, and right now it's also very expensive to get something like this certified. So we are sticking to the process of getting the user feedback, because at the end of the user is the doctor who is supposed to use it, and this is for doctors specifically designed, not because PAPR can be used in multiple environments like industrial environments and all of that kind of thing. We've specifically designed so that the doctors use it right now because they need it the most. And if they are okay using it, technically we're okay, making them as well, because otherwise the process of making and then actually giving it to somebody to use becomes very long because of this, intermittent certifications, etc. that come in.
So this is targeted for primarily the doctors, or is it also for the general individual user for them to be able to use it? Hello?
Sorry. Yeah. Currently, we want the doctors to use it because these are meant to be like, obviously you and I, we're not in high risk environments, right? We're sitting at home and we're not really dealing with somebody who's COVID infected. So this is right now targeted for high risk environments, just like ICUs and where you are dealing with COVID patients. So high risk COVID hospitals where the doctors are going in. Yeah, very high exposure, because that's where the contamination is. That's where your aerosol procedures, are there. So where it helps sort of, get ventilated air, etc. So yeah, that's what we've done.
Okay. I'm going to take a few questions from the people who have been sending a lot of questions. Tremendous interest in your engagement with us today. So Ronak, can you quickly ask 3 or 4 questions which Vaibhav and Richa can answer, and keep the questions short, and the answers also, if it can be brief, so that we are able to cover at least 4 to 5 questions.
Sure, sir. So we have a question from one of the students. Her name is Maheshwari, and she's saying that from where can she get these design files, and how can she get these design files printed so that she can create face shields in her own household?
So I think Ronak, you should send the link to them, to everybody. Those links can be provided by Vaibhav and Richa. So
sure, we will provide the links to these students.
Yeah.
Secondly, we have another question from one of the schools, which is from Amravati. Okay, how did Makers Asylum figure out the logistical challenges during this COVID situation? For example, they had to manufacture a face shield at Makers Asylum, but they have to transport it to somewhere in down south in town, or maybe up north in Mumbai. How during this lockdown period were they able to move the material?
So just to, like, it's a one short word for it, which we all can resonate it with, a lot of jugaad, because we had to get police permissions. We had actually ambulances of hospitals coming in to pick up stuff and drop stuff, because we couldn't move around because we didn't want to expose ourselves to high risk. So people were picking up stuff from us. There was Blue Dot warehouse where we used to go and drop our material. So there was a lot of jugaad involved to open up factory shutters and get things done.
And just to add to the jugaad element, we even installed a pulley at Makers Asylum because we're on the 3rd floor. So we added a pulley outside, which we use the rope to take down heavy material down and bring up the heavy material up, instead of going up and down three floors every time. And we did that using an old project. So we were able to use police cars and ambulances and police cars.
Yeah, there were 2 main transports that we were using.
Wow. Okay, so we have a final questions from one of the schools from Northeast. So they are asking that, as we can see, we have actually already achieved the 1 million face shields, the M19 face shields. What is next for the maker community or the maker space's future? What is the next target? What are the next kind of products that they are actually trying to build or create, and how can the students of the Tinkering Lab can help them?
So, I mean, Rich, I can also take this one, but all the labs, as you know, are making other things. So from PAPRs to flaws to a lot of stuff, because we need like a lot of innovation at this time. And actually, this happens to be one of the best times to be living as a creator or an innovator, I would say, because the world is at such a beautiful, at a very interesting moment, because a lot of things are changing. And because a lot of things are changing, with change comes the requirement of innovation and creativity. And if you're sitting at home or if you're in a tinkering lab right now, you should be really happy, because this is the time to really create and do stuff. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of us decided to lock ourselves inside our lab and not inside home, because this is the time to make things and do stuff, I think. And Richa can add to like a lot of the stuff that the other labs are doing.
Yeah.
We also plan to open source I mean, we've been sharing all our designs with everyone, and through GitHub and open source designs. And I think this also brings us to very, very important conversations around open source versus going the route of patents or going closed source. And this can be a conversation for a different time, but just to show you the scalability and the impact that you can create and the pace, the speed that you can achieve by sharing your designs and sharing your ideas with the world and collaborating with them and moving forward together, the power of that versus keeping your idea stuck inside your head and being scared of not releasing your ideas and pushing it out and trying to keep them with you. It shows you a little bit of that too as a potential in terms of how fast you can move.
Yeah, but to just add to and answer the question that Ronak asked in terms of target, I think this 1 million target also had evolved. It was not like we decided that we're going to do 1 million. We actually, Vaibhav had said, let's do this 1,000 of these face shields when we created the target, because, you know, as like 4 to 5 people, we never thought that we were going to make 1 million. Then it became 10,000. Then it became 1 lakh. Then it became 1 million. So we progressed. It's not like, you know, we went through and said, okay, fine, today we'll make 1 million shields. I think the idea is to start small and go big. And if you are sitting anywhere inside a lab, there are a lot of problems in the community. So maybe you should talk to people that you want to solve a problem for. So if suppose you want to solve for a doctor, you want to solve for a garbage man, you want to solve for somebody who's, you know, who's coming to your house picking up garbage, please talk to them and understand what their problems are. And then try to find a solution and an answer to it. And for us as Makers Asylum, the next project that we're really gung-ho about is the Play PR. And we're looking to first give out about, we have started a Keto fundraiser campaign for 20 of these to be given out as donations. And we're trying to scale it up to at least 100 for the starting, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
Great. I think, Ronak, do you have more questions, or shall we wind up, because I don't want to eat on dinner time.
Yes, sure, sir. I think it's the dinner time for most of our students as well, and we can close the session. And whatever questions we have, we can answer them offline as well. So that's fine.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to thank both Vaibhav and Richa for a fascinating conversation where you have brought out so many things. But I would like to summarize all the things that you brought out from the word maker. You know, the M in the maker stands for making something. And making something means starting from your idea, converting it into a prototype, and that prototype being able to be converted into something that you can manufacture. So that's what, and that whole process of converting an idea into a workable prototype and from a prototype into something that you can manufacture to scale, that is the first element of a maker's world. The A stands for agility. You know, the maker has to be very agile because he or she has to be able to incorporate these solutions. Like in this COVID-19 crisis, you have a 49-day period. You want to create 1 million units. How are you going to be able to do it? The idea is not so great as the ability to be able to scale, and therefore the agility is required. That agility requires access to tools and technologies. And that is what, in a maker's world, these tools like laser printers, 3D printers, drone technology, battery technology, all of these are the tools and technologies which help them to make them mobile. The K stands for knowledge acquisition. You know, you have to have knowledge about what you are trying to do and why you're trying to do it. Who is the target community? These are, for example, in the M19, the doctors are the target community, or in the general public is in the target community. And if you're talking of PAPR equipment, then you have a specific community, and the needs of those community are different. So the knowledge about what you're doing, why you're doing, to whom you're targeting, and how do you approach that whole solution becomes very important. The fourth, the E stands for engineering a scalable solution. Now, we are not engineering just a product, you're engineering a solution. So that solution requires, as Richa pointed out, your ability to take care of supply chain, affordability, how are you going to manufacture using local equipment, how are you going to make it affordable. So there is an engineering component of a solution, and that solution requires different type of people to come together. There are technical people, there are business planning strategy people, there is the end user. All of them have to come together and collaborate, because engineering a solution requires collaboration, which became very evident. And the R stands for re-engineering and reiterating the solution so that it attains the perfection and the desired endpoint. And that is the part of a maker's world. They had to go through 20 iterations before they could, or 21 iterations before they could come up with a face shield, a simple concept like a face shield. And now they are in the 6th or 7th iteration of the PAPR. So a maker's world is a very exciting world. Every one of you who is on this call, who has an access to an adult tinkering lab, are indeed very fortunate to live in such a world today where you have access to the technology, where you can aspire to become a maker, an innovator, and a potential job creator of the future. Thank you, everybody, for logging in. Have a great night. Be safe. Do practice the safeguards of COVID-19 and use this session to inspire you into your next level of your innovation journey. Thank you so much, Vaibhav and Richa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much, Vaibhav and Richa.
Thank you, Ronak.
Concluding the call, the viewers, you can all visit the Makers Asylum website, www.makersasylum.com, to know more about the M19 and the PAPI initiative. As always, you can use all the Adult Tinkering Lab equipment and resources available on the website for free access. Like, share.
Also, Ronak, I would suggest that as a follow-up, the making of the face shields, or even in a few cases, the PAPR and other devices that are being made by Maker Asylum, they can be offered as challenges to the Adult Tinkering Lab community so that they can participate wholeheartedly and contribute to the initiatives.
Absolutely, sir. We will work together and make this happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to conclude this call. To all our viewers, you can visit the Makers Asylum website, makersasylum.com, to know more about PAPR and M19 mask. And as always, like, share, and subscribe to the Adult Innovation Mission's YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Tinker from home, and happy tinkering.